what we have here is the Lenovo Xiaoxin 100S Projector, which costs 15,999 pesos in the Philippines through the Lenovo Online Store in Lazada. I left the links in the description box below if you're interested after watching the video. The name may indicate otherwise, but this is a global model that fully supports the English language. Some key features you should know are its standard brightness level of 650 ANSI Lumens, Full HD playback resolution with support for 4K partial decoding, 2 built-in 5-watt speakers, and Wi-Fi 6, which isn't the latest standard but is more than enough for streaming up to 4K resolution videos and remote play, but more on that later. After spending more than a month watching videos through streaming and local playback, and even trying to play games on it through Steam Link, my experience with the 100S is a mixed bag but with more pros than cons. If what you aim to do with the 100S is simply to watch videos, the sharpness and brightness of videos are good enough unless you are a stickler for details. The claimed 650 ANSI Lumens won't allow you to watch comfortably in a lit indoor environment, but it's just enough to have that cinema-like experience once you set this up in a dark area or room. As far as streaming goes, YouTube only goes up to 1080p. While the 100S supports 4K partial decoding, you can only play back 4K videos locally by connecting an external storage using the USB-A port. Thankfully, the HiSilicon 352 chipset and the meager 2GB RAM inside are capable of rendering 4K HDR videos without a problem. You heard that right, HDR playback is also supported, but I recommend sticking to SDR since the picture quality looks dimmer by comparison, which is to be expected since HDR requires a higher or brighter output from the hardware. But do take note, you can only use MP4 file format as MKV does not support audio playback. One workaround I did was to use VLC, which is available in the OS App Store. As for streaming, it's worth noting that the 100S is not running on your typical Android TV OS. Instead, it's using some sort of local OS from Lenovo called ZEASN OTT Ecosystem, but still it's basically based on Android 9. The local OS supports the most popular streaming apps, although I wouldn't use this primarily for Netflix or Amazon, which requires Widevine certification since the 100S does not support it. However, because you do have a port and an HDMI that supports up to 4K 30Hz, you can either use a TV stick or a dongle, just like how I connected my old Samsung Galaxy Note 9 using an HDMI to USB-C cable to stream high-resolution videos on Netflix. The local OS is also not the smoothest when navigating the UI. Add the fact that the infrared sensor for the remote control is at the back of the projector, which makes it hard for the remote to communicate with the projector. If you don't want to deal with these slowdowns, I suggest using a TV stick instead. By the way, the 100S is powered by a 95-watt barrel plug connector that has a big adapter that gets quite hot, I must say. And if you need an audio jack for some reason, there is one as well. As a video streaming device, you have to deal with some workarounds. But if you can get past that, the 100S is decent. For playing games remotely, I was actually surprised to see Steam Link in the App Store. Given the 100S comes with Wi-Fi 6, there shouldn't be any problem, right? Well, that is not the case unfortunately. Using Steam Link, the latency is bad. You have to wait a couple of seconds before the game recognizes a single action. I'm not sure why, but I play my games using Steam Link on different devices and have had no problems. Remote play is not an option here, but if you really want to play games here, just use the HDMI connector for low latency gaming. For the speaker quality, the speakers do get loud, but you need to be around 80 to 100% to hear the dialogue in a video. And despite having a big chassis to house the speakers, you still get a hint of tinniness, which is especially noticeable when compared with other speakers. Don't get me wrong though, they still sound better than most cheap Bluetooth speakers. But if you need to use Bluetooth, I suggest using the audio jack because there is noticeable latency. As for the build of the 100S, it mostly uses plastic housing with grills everywhere. For some reason, the exhaust goes to the front and not to the back, which I thought was going to be a problem since all the dust would accumulate on the glass, but this was not really the case. It didn't affect the quality of the projector. There is a small camera at the bottom part which helps in correcting focus and keystone of all the projectors I've tested on this channel. The 100S has the fastest and most accurate focus and keystone correction I've seen. When repositioning the projector, like 80% of the time, it will nail down the projection. The 100S has a projection distance of 1.3 to 2.7 meters, so it can go up to 100-inch window size diagonally. The bottom part of the 100S comes with 4 rubber feet and a screw thread for mounting on a tripod or other projector mounts. But there is a metal stand as well if you don't need a mount, and it's pretty sturdy and easy to install, although it does not have tilt support, so keep that in mind. I think the 100S can get the job done if you just need something that works. It sure has its upsides, although most of the downsides can easily be fixed by purchasing a TV stick. You will need to add that to your budget if you plan to get this one for streaming. Lenovo Xiaoxin 100S is far from perfect, but it's decent enough depending on your use case. But that's it for this one. Drop a sub or like if you feel like supporting the channel, and as always, until the next one, stay safe.